I spent time with people that were part of street gangs, people that were drug dealers, armed robbers, people that had murdered people, killed people, stabbed people. I spent time with South American drug lords. There was a Colombian drug lord who was a rival to Pablo Escobar, and this drug lord, I shared a cell with him for 6 months. He was one of the leaders of the Cali cartel, which at one time controlled 90% of the global cocaine trade. And I found out, I got a lot of insight into why these people ended up in prison. There was always something that happened in early part of their life, something that happened which was why they were in prison. Everyone has a child in their life or has children in their lives. Maybe you don't have children of your own, but maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a social worker. All of us who have children in our lives, there are things that we can do to help them avoid a life of crime. Hello everyone, and welcome to my new series, How to Help Your Child Avoid a Life of Crime. First of all, a small introduction to myself. My name is Babar Ahmad. I am from London. I live in London in the United Kingdom. I spent 11 years in prison in two countries, the US and the UK, from 2004 to 2015. And I spent time in a number of different prisons, and I spent time with some people that had done some really bad things. I spent time with people that were part of street gangs, people that were drug dealers, armed robbers, people that had murdered people, killed people, stabbed people, all the way up to Mexican cartel members and leaders. I spent time with South American drug lords. There was a Colombian drug lord who was a rival to Pablo Escobar, and this drug lord, I shared a cell with him for 6 months. And if you've seen this series on Netflix called Narcos, then season 3, the Cali cartel, this drug lord, he was one of the leaders of the Cali cartel, which at one time controlled 90% of the global cocaine trade. People traffickers, Albanian people traffickers, Russian mafia, Italian mafia, the Mexican mafia. I spent time with a lot of different people who did a lot of bad things, who did a lot of crime. Some of them I helped with legal work, and when I helped them with their legal work, I had to go back into their history and to look at their childhood and how they ended up in prison. And I found out, I got a lot of insight into why these people ended up in prison. There was always something that happened in early part of their life, something that happened which was why they were in prison. You know what, sometimes when I see today the political discourse, people make crime into a different political parties. They blame the other one on being too soft on crime, or you're not tough on crime, or under you crime has gone high, or because you've made cuts to youth services, or because of racism, because of police. These all play a part. But my experience of why people become criminals is not because of racism or the police, or because of like council cuts or government spending and things like that. But it goes back down to the family, and it goes back down to early childhood. So what is this series, and what will it do for you? So I've titled it, How to Help Your Child Avoid a Life of Crime. This does not mean just your own child or your own children. Everyone has a child in their life or has children in their lives. Maybe you don't have children of your own, but maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a social worker. Maybe you're a godparent to another child. Maybe you work in a community. Maybe you're a religious pastor or something, and you work with young people. Maybe you're a youth worker. Or maybe you don't have children yourself, but there are children in your family. All of us who have children in our lives, there are things that we can do to help them avoid a life of crime. You can't control the future. No one knows what's going to happen. But by implementing some of these steps, then I'm hopeful that you would lessen the chance of your child joining a gang or ending up in prison, or murdering someone, or stabbing someone. So I want to give some caveats. So first of all, this is a huge subject matter. I'm not going to be covering all the details. But my aim in this is, in layman's terms, is to tell you some stories from my experiences, and then to give you some terms and things that you can go and research about yourself. So in each of the videos, I will put some links, I'll put some resources, some videos that you can go into, some topics you can research about, because it doesn't do justice in a small 10 or 12 minute video to talk about something that is so big. So that's the first caveat. The second caveat is, I'm not a professional, I'm not a criminologist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a professional in this field. I am just going to be sharing my experiences. So take some of what I say, take all of what I say, or take none of what I say. It's entirely up to you. It's the same as everything. You don't have to agree with everything that I say. I could be right, I could be wrong, but I'm not a professional. I'm just sharing my experiences. And the third caveat is, some of the topics that I will be talking about are sensitive and they are triggering, because I'm going to be talking about early childhood, I'm going to be talking about parenting, I'm going to be talking about childhood abuse, I'm going to be talking about trauma. These are some of the things that I'm going to be talking about, so please bear that in mind. So one of the most important things I want to say is, if your child is already grown up, or if your child is already in prison, or your child is already in, or the children you work with are already in a life of crime, please don't despair. Where there is life, there is hope. I saw people in prison that had spent many years in prison, but they redeemed themselves and they turned their lives around, and they came out of prison and they're now running productive lives. I've seen people, parents who made mistakes with their children when they're young, and now their children have grown up and they've been able to fix those relationships. So where there is life, there is hope. It is always possible to heal, and it is always possible to resolve things. So this series of mine is not to put anyone down, or to point out people's mistakes, or to give people guidance, or you've done this, or you shouldn't have done this. It's ultimately to give hope, and maybe there is something somewhere in here where someone can use and implement, which will reduce the amount of crime in society. It does not matter which country you live in, which part of the world you live in, whether you live in a city or a village. These steps that I will be talking about are something that can be implemented by everyone to stop this. So bear with me, and I hope you'll enjoy this series. And if you like my content, please share it. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers in the next 12 months, and I need your help to do that. But I'm not looking for you just to get your whole family just to click subscribe. If you share this content, and if the people like it, they will automatically subscribe. So my only request to you is, if you like this content, please share it. And one last thing is, if you look at my channel, you'll see there is some religious content in there. I am a Muslim, I'm a proud Muslim, and some of my content is geared towards a Muslim audience, where I talk about religious and spiritual things. And some of my content is mainstream content, which is to everyone. So whatever your religion is, whether you have a religion or you don't have a religion, or you believe in God or you don't believe in God, this channel is still here for you, and there's still content in here for you. This series of mine, how to help your child avoid a life of crime, this is not something which is, it's not a religious series. I'm not going to be preaching in it or anything like that, so don't worry. So thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next video.
أنت حر وراء السدود، أخي أنت حر بتلك القيود. إذا كنت بالله مستعصما، فماذا يضيرك كيد العبيد؟ فماذا يضيرك كيد العبيد؟ أخي أنت